Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking the fascinating and, let's be totally honest, often really messy world of English irregular verbs. If you've ever felt frustrated by these unpredictable, rule-breaking words, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to explore the wild history behind them, and more importantly, we're going to focus heavily on reproducing the proper pronunciation of these tricky verbs so you can finally master them. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why a child naturally says, "I goed to the park," but we immediately correct them to "I went"? It makes perfect grammatical sense to just add an ed to the end of a word to make it past tense, right? But English kind of has a mind of its own. These stubborn words that refuse to follow the rules aren't just random mistakes. They're what linguists call linguistic fossils. They are literally ancient survivors of how the English language used to sound thousands of years ago. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap. We'll start with 1, the irregular verb problem. 2, ghosts of Old English. 3, decoding the vowel shifts. 4, master pronunciation with IPA. And 5, tricks to learn them.
So, Section 1, the irregular verb problem, linguistic fossils.
What actually makes a verb irregular in the first place? Well, historically, early Germanic languages split verbs into 2 different camps. You had your strong verbs, which formed their past tense through internal vowel changes. Think sing, sang, sung. And then you had weak verbs, which just tacked on a simple suffix, like love, loved. Over the centuries, language naturally evolved to be simpler, and most verbs shifted over to the easier weak pattern. But the verbs we used the absolutely most, the ones essential to everyday survival, were so deeply wired into our brains that they stubbornly stayed strong. They literally fossilized into the language. Which brings us to Section 2, Ghosts of Old English, a messy history. And honestly, it's a super messy history of historical collisions. Starting with Old English, our language evolved through waves of invasions. Back in the 8th century, the Vikings arrived, bringing Old Norse, and they gifted us irregular verbs like get, give, and take. Then, boom, 1066 hits, and the Norman conquest floods the language with French. Finally, right between the 15th and 17th centuries, we experienced the Great Vowel Shift. People completely changed how they pronounced their long vowels. But, and here's the kicker, they didn't change how they spelled the words. This massive phonetic upheaval froze all these historical quirks in place, leaving us with the glorious, chaotic mismatch of spelling and pronunciation we have today.
All right, Section 3, decoding the vowel shifts, finding the patterns.
Now, despite all that historical chaos, there are actually hidden patterns here that we can decode. A huge one involves shifts in the vowel sounds right in the middle of the word as we move from the base form to the past simple to the past participle. For these next few tables, I really want you to listen closely to my pronunciation and literally repeat after me out loud. Building that muscle memory is absolutely crucial.
Let's start with this classic pattern. Notice the vowel shifts here, the short I, the wide ah, and the hard Say them with me. Begin, began, begun. Drink, drank, drunk. Ring, rang, rung. Sing, sang, sung. Do you hear that rhythm? Grouping verbs like this in your mind makes them so much easier to pull up naturally during a conversation.
Moving on to another group, check this out. Here, the long E sound shifts to a short E sound for both the past simple and past participle. Let's practice these. Feed, fed, fed. Feel, felt, felt. Keep, kept, kept. Sleep, slept, slept. Crisp and clear. Once you lock onto that specific E to E transition, you've just memorized a whole block of vocabulary without even thinking about it. Okay, we've got that exact same vowel shift in this next group, but it comes with a side of absolute absurdity in English spelling. Let's run through them. Deal, dealt, dealt. Dream, dreamt, dreamt. Mean, meant, meant. And then look at that last row. Present tense, read. Past tense, read. Past participle, read. They look absolutely completely identical on the page, but the past forms sound exactly like the color red. This right here is exactly why we cannot rely on spelling alone. Since the spelling is basically lying to us, phonetics are our best friend here. Take verbs like take, took, taken, or eat, ate, eaten. Seeing the actual phonetic breakdown helps you completely bypass those confusing letters on the page and tells your brain exactly what to do with your mouth to get that perfect American accent pronunciation. Section 4. Master Pronunciation with IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. If you really want to nail these pronunciations, especially if English isn't your native language, you need a reliable tool, and that tool is the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA. Because English spelling is so notoriously unreliable, the IPA is a total game changer. It provides a unique, specific visual symbol for every single sound your mouth can possibly make. It's basically the ultimate decoder ring for learners.
Here's the really cool part. Using a narrower or super-specific IPA transcription can help you isolate incredibly tricky sounds that cause native language interference. You see, a lot of learners struggle with English sounds simply because those sounds literally don't exist in their mother tongue.
Take the English R, for instance. It is notoriously tricky. It requires pulling your tongue back in a way many other languages just don't do. Notice how some educators write the phonetic spelling of dream with the highly specific, modified R character. It almost looks like a little hat over the letter. Seeing this specific symbol acts as a visual trigger. It physically reminds you, right, I need to completely change how I move my mouth for this sound. It's a visual cue for a physical action.
Finally, Section 5. Tricks to learn them, making them stick.
All right, we've got the history, we've practiced the sounds together, and we've got our phonetic decoder ring. Let's make it stick. First off, ditch the alphabetical lists. Start grouping your verbs by their vowel patterns, just like we did with sang, sang, sung. Second, use flashcards. Visual repetition is huge. Third, take those verbs and actually use them to create sentences about your own day, because context matters. Fourth, actively listen and repeat when you're watching movies or listening to music to lock in that pronunciation. And lastly, practice daily, but just in short, 5-minute bursts. Repetition is exactly how these linguistic fossils survived for over 1,000 years, and it's exactly how they're going to survive in your memory.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a quick thought on the future of English. We are actually watching our language evolve in real time. Some of the less common irregulars, like dreamed, are slowly shifting into regular verbs like dreamed in everyday modern usage. But the heavy hitters, words like go, see, be, do, they are so deeply embedded into our daily lives that they aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So what do you think? Will English ever become fully regular? Will went ever actually become good? Just something to think about the next time you catch yourself saying you went to the store. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.